Anti-apartheid activist Roger Jardine will officially launch his political movement in Riverlea, south of Johannesburg today. Let's cross to our reporter Natasha Puri, who is covering that story for us. Natasha, good afternoon. At this hour, walk us through what is happening on your end, perhaps the sentiments from the people of Riverlea, south of Johannesburg. What are they saying ahead of the address?
Well, very good afternoon to you, and of course to our SABC News viewers. Liesel, I'll just show you the stage behind. The stage is all set. Of course, you know that the program will start about at 2:30, and of course this is where the former First Rand chair, and of course, like you said, the former anti-apartheid activist, who also was involved in ANC politics at once, and of course then ventured into business, Roger Jardine, will be establishing his movement, and the name of the movement, like you can see there, is Change Starts Now. Of course, the program is set to actually start at 2:30, and this is a person who has been dawning headlines for the past 2 weeks. There was lots of speculations of whether he would be the face of the multi-party charter, and of course the multi-party charter came out last week saying that that is not the case, and of course you got that invite during the week saying that he would be joining this movement. There's also some speculation about the likes of Mavuso Msimang, who recently severed ties with the ANC, whether or not he would be joining this movement. Well, we now know that yes, he was consulted on this movement, but said he would not be joining Roger Jardine's new party. But let me just bring in our political editor, just so we can just have a discussion, ahead of this launch. So we've seen the people that have come out here. You've seen the likes of Mark Haywood, your Murphy, Murobas, and of course Nicole Frizz.
Yes.
What does this tell you?
Yeah, the picture starts to paint quite properly from what we've always been hearing, getting on the ground. Some of the people that are behind this kind of a change, I mean, you can see their slogan. I don't know whether it is their slogan. I mean, when we see the posters all around here, it says change starts now. So it is interesting to see who else would be here. Particularly when I look at Mark Haywood, there is one person who had expressed an interest of running as an independent. I don't know the judgment that came out last week, so what it may have done, because it didn't really change much in terms of the prospects of the candidate. So is he throwing in a lot with this new movement? But then it will be actually more interesting to see who else is behind this. And we saw how it was somehow first leaked to the media so that it gets that kind of hype, and then it did actually get it. I mean, there's a lot of media colleagues who are here, but as I'm saying, at the core of what they want to do they have the kind of support? Because if you are engaging on this kind of a project, you need support from the masses of South Africa, because if you want to unseat the governing ANC, which is everywhere, you will have to have support. So this change starts now. We'll have to prove that. So it's early days. We still want to see what is their plan, and then we are expecting him to also tell us what is it that he's offering, because to many South Africans, he is definitely unknown. Yes, he has struggled credentials, he's been in business, but to South Africans that he aspires to lead, so he's an unknown book. Here is the chance for him, and let's see what this is.
And talking about support, some would say it's a bit too late to actually start such a movement right now. The elections, well, we might not know the date, but speculations are it could be early next year.
It's it is, and I actually agree. And then it throws you back to who actually is behind this.
The funders.
Exactly. So we know that a lot has been tried. I mean, there is a general unhappiness by some of the business about the ANC, and they want to see it fall below 50. So is it part of what they're trying to do, and in terms of funding entities like this? So the jury is still out. But as you are saying, we are in December now, and the elections in terms of the cycle are supposed to be in May. But remember, there's that allowance. They can also be between May and August, or even earlier by the resolution of Parliament. So have these people done enough groundwork to sway the South African voters? Or perhaps the intention is to eat a little bit more from the ANC so that it falls below 50%. So as I've said, the jury is still out.
Let's dwell more, lastly, just on the funders issue. How important are funders? Because, I mean, they've come under the spotlight through the Political Funding Act. You know, funders are supposed to declare the donations that they make to political parties, minimum of 100,000, maximum of 15 million rand. But, I mean, how important are funders? Remember, this whole week, people have been saying that he's been backed by a lot of people, and people who have got money, 1 billion rand.
It will be very interesting when it's time for him now to report. Remember, he is now in the space, he's now in the field, so he must now behave like everyone else. So it will be interesting to see when he reports the kind of donations that he gets, who is funding him, because we need to know. And there's nothing wrong, by the way, being funded, as long as we know who it is, because sometimes some of the decisions, if let's say you are able to then ascend, will they be in the interest of the country or in the interest of those that backed you? So there's a lot more. In fact, the start of this movement today is raising a lot more questions, perhaps, than I think answers. I know there were discussions at some point that he possibly could become part of the multi-party charter, but other organizations in the multi-party charter which have not been consulted, so we're not happy with it. So what is it that he will get? You see, the biggest test for this movement is when the election happen. So will they be able to come up with something? Or because you can have all the money, but you must have the trust of South Africans, which is what the governing party is still having at the moment. Because you even see why they dip or they drop. Because people still believe they are the ones who can do perhaps better than the rest, they would rather stay at home. So movements like these ones should be able to energize the base that is not voting, because to sway the base of the ANC, maybe it's there for the taking now given the challenges, but you have to do a lot more than just a mere appearance. You have to reconnect and connect with ordinary masses.
And of course, we'll be seeking these questions today as SABC News, and hopefully we will actually be getting some answers. Of course, the program is actually set to start at 2:30, and we expect himself, Mr. Jardine, to actually address, members of the media. We do know that the likes of Murphy Morobe, actually his campaign director, and like Mzwai had said, it's quite interesting. Yes, they have started late, but will they be able to sway the South African people, South African voters, to actually vote for them? And I just want to take you back to this, Liesel. Yesterday in Rustenburg, the ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula had actually, lambasted the recent formation of smaller political parties, saying that especially those who benefited from the policies of the ANC, he had said that these smaller political parties, specifically indirectly speaking to this one, are directed or are actually built to destroy the ANC. So these are interesting times. We'd like to see what the policies of this party are. Have they actually registered with the IEC as yet? What their mandate is? And more importantly, will South Africans actually vote for them come next year? Of course, we will be live, bringing you the live updates. So I do implore our viewers to actually stay tuned to SABC News for all the latest in regards to the story. With that said, it's back to you in studio.